Welcome to Board Game Homies, where a group of friends play, review, and share about all things board games. Sitting around the table today are
Reed, Becky,
Gillian,
and I'm Angela. Today we're talking about Galileo Galilei, where the Inquisition comes to your house and yells, "No science in this flat-out Earth house." But first, what's bringing you joy?
Around Earth is bringing me joy. No, but really,
Science. Absolutely not.
Creature Caravan is my joy game. It's the one we played recently with a couple of friends, and I really enjoy it. It's strange because I'm not usually a fan of mostly solitaire games, but this one plays so smoothly. It's a tableau builder, and I just love how, for lack of a better word, quaint it feels. I love the artwork, and I just love how easily the game flows together. You roll dice, you assign them to different actions, you take those actions all at the same time, and then you proceed to the next turn. And it's kind of a limited duration game where you have, I think it's 12 turns to kind of build this tableau and kind of move your caravan along this zombie-infested landscape and make it to the safe haven at the end of the trail. But I really enjoy it. Every time we play, I just find it very pleasant. I do not utilize some of the main mechanics in the game where you are supposed to commit satchels or bags to get victory points at the end of the game. I just completely ignored that in this game, and I need to improve on that in order to actually compete, I think.
you do okay. Enough. I really like Creature Caravan as well. I think it's the right length for a midway game, and I don't know. It does everything right.
My joy was when we were playing last night, there was a token of bread, a bread token in my spot, and I said, "What was this bread token from?" And you were like, "We were playing Creature Caravan." I was like, "Oh, these pieces were really nice."
Yeah, the upgraded pieces are adorable. The little zombies, they have like one arm going up and one arm going down, so you can make it look like they're holding hands.
They're doing the disco.
It's the best.
I think that you all should try and get this to the table more, because Angela and I have only played it once, and that was a long time ago. And you all have been talking about it since and have snuck in a few plays here and there.
Well, I know what we're playing when we're done recording.
And Shaman's Edge.
No,
Heck
Creature
yeah!
Caravan.
Yay, boo, Becky. No.
Speakeasy?
My joy game is one that we're going to be playing this coming weekend, which is Evacuation. It has been on our shelf for forever, and I don't, as usual, don't know too much about it, but there are two different planets, and then there's like a road slide going between them, like half of an infinity symbol, kind of like an S. But I believe that you start with a like fully functioning economy kind of thing, and then you have to dismantle it and move it onto the new planet and start all over. So I'm really curious is it going to feel like you have an engine running, and then in the middle of the game there's you're struggling and then building it back up? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like you're evacuating Earth because it's no longer sustainable, and you need to populate a new planet where you can establish civilization once more. But to do that, you need to kind of dismantle what you had, take bits and pieces of it with you along this circuit, and plant it on the new planet. And yeah, it's pretty much that. You're trying to balance that dismantling with the reconstruction elsewhere.
It sounds like every move matters, and so I'm also interested to see how tense it feels.
That theme sounds so interesting to me, and I don't know what I thought that it was going to be about, but I'm very intrigued and excited to play it.
Reed, they're moving from a round Earth to a flat Earth.
No, they're moving from a round Earth to a flat Mars.
Wait.
Oh,
Is that-
yeah.
is that true?
That's true.
That's not true.
You'll never know because of science.
Or until we play the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be flat regardless. It's a game board, I mean.
No, boo.
We're going to boo all episodes.
Yeah, we still do.
My joy game is a game that I'm probably going to get booed for saying, but
Boo!
We boo now, Reed.
Bottle Imp. I'm doing it. I'm breaking the
Why are you
curse.
booing? It's
Because we've been playing it nonstop, absolutely adore it, and it hasn't been our joy game yet.
yeah. I mean, that's because everybody like was pointing at each other, expecting each other to like mention this last time, and nobody mentioned it.
Yeah, we were the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
Pointing at each other. And we played this last night, and you lost so badly, it gave me hope.
I did come out of my negative point hole that I was in, but I definitely lost by 100 points or so.
Finally, jeez.
So Bottle Imp is just such an interesting trick-taking game because there's a set value of 19. The Bottle Imp is there. If you end up with the bottle at the end of the game, you don't score any points. You instead score negative points based on what everybody threw into the shared pile at the beginning, whereas everybody else scores whatever they've gained throughout the game, every trick they've won. And the bottle, whoever owns the bottle is determined by whoever kind of played the highest trump that round. And so you know what cards or what suits are in the game and what numbers are associated with those suits. And it's such an interesting balance of trying to figure out what other people have, expecting the 2, which is basically the second to lowest card in the game, to be around, and then it's not actually around and you get stuck with the bottle because you played a 1 expecting somebody to have the 2, is just so fun. And yeah, it's always about judging what other people are going to do.
Yeah, it's crazy that there is no trump suit per se. The trump is whatever is lower than the bottle number. So you're like, great, I have a 7, that's a trump, but so is an 11, unless the new bottle number is 4, and then anything below the 4 is. And I like this part where if you run out of the suit that you have, because there's 3 suits, then you can play any number, but if you play the highest number and nobody played trump, you then win the trick. I was like, what? So you just won with that blue 36, even though the suit you had to follow was green, because it still must follow. And I always get confused when someone wins. I go, is the sound I make.
Well, it is green 36, Angela, but that's okay.
My favorite aspect of the game is when people forget that they actually played trump when they didn't mean to, and they get stuck with the bottle and like, oh no, which happens to Becky a lot.
Thank you both for explaining how to play it, because I just wanted to think about it, not actually be informative at all.
This is an audio medium read.
So I absolutely love trick-taking games. And one of the other things that's really interesting about this is that the highest trump that's still underneath of the bottle ends up being the trump for the game. And so you want to get rid of all your trumps. It's actually bad to be stuck with the bottle imp, as Gillian had mentioned. But if I play an 11, that's the highest, let's say, that I could play that round. And then that gives everybody else an opportunity who has that same color or who wants to play an offsuit to be able to offload a lower trump. So you're only actually able to get rid of your trump cards if somebody else plays a higher trump card. And that is a very fun game of chicken as well. And in this game, it's actually best to go last, because then you get to see what everybody else is playing. And that's the turn where you might want to play a trump because you don't give other people an opportunity to go underneath of it.
Yeah, it's weird that you can get rid of trumps usually only by 2 trumps being played in a hand. But then you're like, you better not play that trump. But then you get really stuck, because if you short suit yourself, which means you get rid of all one color that you have, so you get rid of all of the blues in your hand, and then somebody passes you a single blue, you have to play that. And so there have been times where someone had to play the thing that they got short suited, a blue 3, because they didn't have any more blues. And then you super take it away from everybody. You're like, great. I'm really screwed now.
Super fun. Pretty hard to get. Becky hasn't said anything. Becky, what do you think?
I really enjoy this game, and it breaks my brain sometimes. Definitely the first couple of games were very difficult because with the color it matters for what you have to play if you have it, but then still the highest number wins, or the trump wins, which is lower than the number. And sometimes, like, a couple games ago, I got really excited, and Gillian played a red, and I was like, yes, I get to get rid of my 1. And then I took it and was not able to count my points because I never got rid of it again. It was so bad.
Yeah, very hard to get rid of 1, the literal lowest number
Yeah,
and the
no,
mega
you
trump.
can't. I thought I was sneaking it in, and I even celebrated with my arms up in the air. And you guys
Awkward.
were like, okay.
Then your hands ended up on your head like, oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
then I was very distraught.
Thematically, I like this because the story is really simple, which is there's a genie, an imp in a bottle that will grant you immense amount of power and privilege. The only thing is, if you die with the bottle in your possession, you're dragged down to hell and tortured for all eternity. And so you don't want to get dragged down. And the thing is, you can get rid of the bottle, but only by selling it to somebody for lower than you paid for it. So at the beginning, right, when the bottle is circulating, that's not hard because the numbers are very high. Kind of like in the theme, people were, oh, it's millions of gold. But as time and Eternia went on, now you're selling it for like a sandwich or a handshake. So how do you sell the bottle as it gets lower and lower? You can't. If you get stuck with it, you get dragged to hell. And so I kind of like love this theme.
You just like sandwiches.
And not being tortured in hell also? But yes, sandwiches and not hell.
So there's a new version that was put out by Grail Games, but this is an old game, right?
Yeah, it's a really old game. I think in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, mid-90s.
Whenever you guys say it's a really old game, about any game we play, I'm like, oh, like the 1900s,
It did come out in the 1900s, I think, Becky.
Oh, no, her hands went up. And now
the
they're...
early 1900s.
Good one, Reed. Good one.
Sick burn.
The 1800s.
I kind of think it's like, this game has been here since the dawn of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, but to that point, like this game has been reprinted multiple times by different companies, and the most recent one was Grail Games, who kind of revamped the artwork. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's just so nice. And they also bumped it up from a 4-player maximum to 6-player maximum by introducing half-point cards. And there are also 2 bottles out at a time in a 5 or 6-player game. And so that just enhances it all that much more.
So there are 2 bottles, and I thought that was just a choice that you made for what bottle that you wanted to play with, and we switch halfway through, but that makes sense.
Oh, Reed.
Well, I've never played with more than 4 players, so the half cards, that would be really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
We need 2 more people, so come and join us.
You ask the bottle imp, you get what you get.
A sandwich.
Yeah, the sandwich would probably have gotten more points than I did last night.
Yeah, not wrong. My joy is a multitude because it is an event. It is Board Game Homie Weekend next weekend. So we ditch out to the ocean, for with which we do not enjoy nature in any sort of way except to look out the window while we play board games all week. And I'm excited for this because there are some games that have been on our bucket list. If you see the photo that we posted up for the New Year's New Us kind of podcast, and Becky mentioned one that we're going to be learning. I'm excited for Shackleton Base, which is yet another space game. And so getting to learn and play new games as well as revisiting a bunch of old ones that we haven't played as much, like getting to play Bus, Clank Catacombs, some games of Brass, maybe Dune. There's like just a lot of excitement. Now, when we're back, we maybe will have played 4 whole games. Typically last year when we played Clank Legacy for like 9 hours straight. So it was less games, more time. But this is like my favorite time of the year is us going off to a house and just playing board games all day and not having to worry about the world.
Are you being kind of mushy right now?
Becky's almost crying. You almost brought her to tears.
And we'll have sandwiches. So,
And some bottle imp.
Oh, yeah. Reed has a copy now.
I did. I had to get it on the secondary market, and I looked for a while, so thank you, Gillian.
Hey, We're talking about my joy, not back to Bottle Imp. How did this get back to Bottle
It always
Imp?
goes back to Bottle Imp.
It does.
So good.
We got to
Oh
get
my
rid
God.
of it for
Yeah.
cheaper than we got it.
If you would like our Bottle Imp, please
No.
message us. We'll give it to you for a smile.
Oh, that's way too low.
I am also really looking forward to our board game homie beach weekend. We definitely spend a little bit more time outside than you made it sound.
I only
because-
remember one walk the entire weekend.
No, there were definitely more. The dogs. Think of the dogs. Anyways. Oh, Malcolm is going to be a bush dog. He's going to live his best life in the yard. He just burrows down there. I'm getting distracted.
That's not atypical.
Yeah, that's not
Okay.
strange.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to eat such delicious food. We're going to play such great games. And I'm really looking forward to Bust. That was almost my joy game today.
Okay, who's bringing the sea-themed game this time around? Because we
No.
need to play a sea-themed game this weekend, or this coming weekend.
I mean, I do have fishing in my bag.
Oh, okay. But Becky doesn't like that. Becky's the only one that doesn't like fishing.
I mean, we'll go in ships. They're just
Spaceships.
spaceships.
10B.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Who's bringing it?
I've been thinking about buying that game.
Yeah, you bought it. You bought it like 5 weeks ago.
I am bringing that game.
Oh, but Angela's bringing it too. So
We'll see how many copies we have. Like
Oh.
last year, 2 copies of Cascadia and no Castles of Burgundy.
I was just gonna say copies.
So, Pets and
Well.
Castles, here we come.
We'll see what we play by the sea.
I was trying to hold it together and I couldn't.
Galileo Galilei, published in 2024, is designed by Thomas Holick of SETI and Tea Gardens fame, with art by Michael Pecci. It's published by Pink Troubadour and Capstone, and it plays 1 to 4 players. It retails for $59.99 US dollars. Gillian, how do we play Galileo Galilei?
In Galileo Galilei, players take on the role of learned astronomers during the turn of the 16th to 17th century, utilizing telescopes to observe the night sky to discover new celestial objects. Observing the night sky isn't the only way to prove a player's acumen, as writing about their discoveries and lecturing at university are additional means to get ahead. However, the Church remains ever vigilant and seeks to punish those with heretical ideas via the Inquisition. The primary mechanic of Galileo Galilei is action selection via a rondel system. On your turn, you will move your telescope to select actions each turn. These actions consist of both a fixed action printed on your player board, as well as moving actions printed on action tiles, which will shift slightly from turn to turn, with the current action taken sliding to the back of the line. These actions allow you to observe the heavens, including major objects such as planets or constellations, write to the library, or in the library rather, lecture in the university to improve your renown and gain various rewards, and gain other advantages. In addition to these actions, the university hosts shared objectives for players to aim for, which will gain them victory points should they meet their criteria. The observing action utilizes discovery dice that you collect throughout the game and will determine what you're able to observe in the night sky. If you observe a major object, you'll gain the victory points associated with it, as well as add or move any inquisitors on your player board, depending on how the Church views the discovery. Finally, you'll add the card to your personal board to add to future writings. Speaking of, the writing action utilizes the celestial objects you've discovered and allows you to move up one of 4 tracks on your personal board, consisting of cards gained by observing major objects and progressively constellations. The lecturing action allows you to move up different university tracks, gaining various benefits as you move along, and in some cases, the attention of the Inquisition, all to achieve an endgame multiplier. At the end of the game, which is triggered by the final discovery card being placed on the main game board, players will total the points they've earned by the progress of their tokens on the university tracks and gain or lose points based on how many Inquisitor tokens remain on their personal player board, and based on their reputation with the Inquisition. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game becomes the most renowned astronomer of the era?
At this price point, I think the components are great. The player board is not dual layered, but also dual layered.
Wow. The fact that you went, well, kind of, it's fine, but also.
It is dual layered because the little thingies that you slide in somewhere.
Yeah, but it's not a complete like vacated spot for them. It's just like there's a raised part on the top of the telescope, and then you just like an open area that's just one lower. So it's not like an inset. You know what I mean?
But there are dual layers.
Yeah, they're two boards glued together, consisting of a dual layer board in total.
Gillian, are we playing with any upgrades in this one?
We aren't actually. The copy we have is the base game. No bells or whistles added to it, except expansions and promos.
Oh, that is delightful then. I agree. I think for this price point, it's really nice. The rondelle is cool because it's a telescope and you just move your telescope up and around. It's like, it's kind of like a quarter rondelle. It's not full circle, but I think that's really neato Frito. I do wish that the cards at the top kind of tucked in a little bit nicer because you're moving your books across, but the books are wooden pieces. They're not cardboard. So I agree. It's very pretty, and the tones are nice.
In regards to the dual layer board, I really appreciated how they made it because it wasn't mentioned in the rules teach, but the first two spots on your action selection rondelle are just X'd out. You can't take them because that's where the telescope is horizontal, so it's looking through the most atmosphere, so you're not going to be able to observe anything. So you have to go a little above the horizon in order to actually observe something on the night sky, which I really appreciate thematically.
Becky, did you tell us that last night?
Oh my goodness.
Wow. He's a scientist, Reed. He knows things.
That's true. We didn't have the scientist at the table.
But I mentioned this like the first time we played it.
He did actually mention it.
Yeah.
So you should have remembered it, Reed. Also, science. Another piece of this game thematically and art-wise is I was like the ugly 70s looking dude. Like, I appreciate that these are scientists from the 1760s, from long ago times, and they look like it on your player board.
Yeah. I will say the game, it's funny, you look at the game box, and I think it has one of the best, like, box covers I've seen in a long time, but it is very beige and just gray tone, but it's the planets on a beige background that's kind of like speckled, and it just, I don't know, the simplicity, the minimalism of it all just really drew me in.
I think it works. I really get excited about the cards because the galaxies and the planets and everything is so pretty that my eye is really drawn to those, and so they stand out on top of the beige.
This game to me does not seem like a store copy. I think it definitely seems like it is an upgraded copy, and I appreciate how well, especially for the price point, that the player boards, the tokens, everything has a really great feel to it.
Yeah, I even appreciate that the dice are not like your typical dice feel. They're wooden dice and with kind of rounded edges, which makes them seem a little basic, but I think it really flows with the vibe of the game. And the wooden pieces for the books and the Inquisitors, they're a little bland. Like, I'd say, like, if the Inquisitors, I don't think they're screen printed, but that would have been cool if they were. Like, the books are screen printed.
I do think it's funny, though, because of all the things in the game, I feel like the Inquisitors almost feel whimsical, which is counteractive to what they actually meant. And so it adds a little bit more lightheartedness to the reality of the Inquisition. They just have this kind of like swift, like scowly eye look to them, and they don't look all that like menacing.
Well, I found it very intimidating because Becky had read, I think, a tip in the book that says, put the Inquisitors. So when you have these Inquisitors on your track that you've gained, they move down, except when they move kind of down towards more rationale, like not hating science, you then have to score for wherever, anytime you've moved them. And that often ends up in a buttload of negative points. But in order to not forget that action happens, you can stand them up. And then it reminds you still need to take that negative scoring action, most often negative scoring action. And so actually when they were standing up, I was like, oh, he's so angry, that little man. He says, I'm going to take some negative points. So I was like, oh, they are so negative.
They actually remind me when they're laying down of the ambrosia in Ostia, and so I keep thinking about that. I'm like, okay, move these little guys down.
I appreciate the shape of the board. It's more oblong and not as wide. It takes up less of the table, which I think kind of feels like it goes with the telescopes a little bit. But it also has room for our player boards, and I appreciate that.
What she meant to say was more rectangular than square.
What did I?
Oblong.
Oh,
I knew what you were saying, Becky. I was look at a scientist coming in correcting you about shapes. This is geometry.
no, I mean it really. Oblong is a dumb word to use for it.
Hey, flash in the pants.
It's true. Okay, thanks, Angela. We did have to take the insert out, though. I think it's because the expansion didn't fit in there, but the couple of times Gillian and I tried to put it away, we had to, like, lift up part of the cross areas in the insert to get the cards to fit, and you had to put the player boards, you fold them and then stack them specially so the telescopes aren't getting in each other's way.
Yeah, and so I will say our review here is purely on the base game. For the most part, I think the most recent play, folks used a couple of people from the expansion, the Luna expansion, but beyond that, we didn't play with any of the like big rule changes in the Luna expansion. But yeah, the base game, when we got it, the insert didn't really work, but it kind of worked, so we kept it, but then it did not fit the expansion, so we had to get rid of it.
Some of the extra parts, there were some silk screened Inquisitor type things, and I don't know if that's from an expansion, but something led me to think that, is there a solo mode of this?
I think so, yeah.
I would definitely be interested in trying that.
Yeah, because it plays 1 to 4. So the one has to be you by yourself. All by yourself, Reed. It does lead to a lot of things in the box. We were unboxing it, and I was like, wow, there's so much stuff in here. And part of that for me is the gameplay around the variability. So the character that you pick has an asymmetric ability, and it was nice to be able to play different characters. It kept it kind of interesting. And then what I really like is the 4 tracks that you're going up, as well as the end game objectives that you can race to finish. One, love a track, love an end game objective. But those are really cool because they become variable about not only the different bonuses you get, but then also what you're working towards. So this scoring track that I was working up last night scored for the number of Inquisitors that I had. But if you just switch 2 pieces, then it would be each time I went up this track, I could get a different bonus at different times. So there's just a lot of interchangeableness in all of the pieces, and I really like that.
So the gameplay in this game was really fun. The rondelle system, it's funny because I didn't think of it initially as a rondelle, but it kind of is half a rondelle where your only option on your turn is to move your telescope 1 to 3 spaces, take those 2 actions associated with the space you land on, and then kind of go from there. And that was a really nifty game within the game, I would say, because there's the fixed action, which is static throughout the game. Every one of us has the same fixed actions on our player boards. But at the beginning of the game, each of us shuffles our action tiles and places them kind of randomly in this arc that makes up your action selection track. And whenever you take the action, whenever you land with your telescope and you take those 2 actions, that action tile will then move to the back of the line and everything will move up. And so it creates kind of this this ever-changing pair of actions that you have to kind of maneuver with. And I just found that really fun. And the last static action is when your telescope is like a full 90 degrees just looking straight up at the night sky. That's the space where you can actually upgrade an action tile. So action tiles are dual-sided, and you can actually flip over one of those action tiles to upgrade it, which generally just gives you a better version of whatever action it was previously. And it was fun trying to maximize how you work within that rondelle and upgrading action tiles, making sure you're able to use those action tiles that are upgraded, and so on and so forth. And I just found that really fun. It was somewhat reminiscent in a way to Windmill Valley, but I appreciated this more for whatever reason.
That rondelle combo with the moving the tile that you take was so frustrating at times because you have to move your telescope. And so many times I moved my expended tile down to the beginning and was like, oh no, now I can't take what I thought my next tile would be or what I wanted it to be. So you have to definitely plan out your moves a couple turns in advance.
Or just fly by the seat of your pants.
Well,
like
and
I
then you
usually
don't do very well, but yes.
Yeah, I like that a lot. There were only a handful of times where I was like, oh no, the action I want to take is where my telescope is now because they've moved. But I really like just playing with it, which is funny, being like, wee, do, 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 do. But I also appreciate that you can take the actions in any order that you want, because sometimes I needed to do the bottom action in order to get something like another dice or a dice number higher so that I could then observe something else. And the flexibility to do both then made me really thoughtful about wanting to maximize both actions on my turn and not doing an action that would just give me half of something. Like, oh, you don't have enough dice to really observe, so maybe this is not the best time to observe, which means I can't do the tile action related to observe. So just being really thoughtful about how you play each one was important.
I definitely got frustrated a few times when I really wanted to put more comets out because I didn't have good dice numbers. And I don't know if we went into this earlier, but there are on your player board a number of comets that you have, and there is a spot on your player board where if you go there, then you get to put out a comet, and then that comet, the first time you use it, augments one of your dice by 1, and then the second time you use it, it augments it by 2. So it's kind of like you get to use it at least 2 times, but then after the second time, then you get to get a bonus that's at the bottom of the track. And that was something that I absolutely loved and ended up having that work out for me really well as I started storing up my comets and using them.
Yeah, and the comets themselves, if I'm not mistaken, there's only a single action on your player board that allows you to put out a comet. And so if you skip by that 1 or 2 times, you're probably not going to get many comets out unless you skip over a lot of different actions as the game goes on.
You can spend 4 compasses to put out a comet.
Right.
But in order to get the compasses, like they do a lot, the compasses. They can help to augment dice. They can help to change colors of dice. They can help move your inquisitors. They can bring on a new dice. I might have said that twice, but there's a lot that they do, and so saving up 4 is really hard. I feel like Becky had 4 a lot,
and it's
maybe
also,
Angela did.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that the compass, like not collecting them, but rather expending the compasses is a free action on your turn in addition to whatever actions you take.
The compasses are also known as quadrants in the board game, just so everyone knows.
Look at Becky correcting
A
us.
scientist,
She's
too.
a scientist.
Scientist
Board
adjacent.
I think that those pieces of this game, and also as you're moving up on the book, doing the writing action, and a lot of the other little spots going up the universities as well, there you get all these bonus actions, and it's like you're really trying to chain various actions, kind of like you would in the White Castle. And I hadn't thought about that the first couple of games I played, but I really was aware of it in the last game, just because you use your free actions. Like, I think the free actions are super important for this game, but they help you to propel you forward in one of the other spaces, which helps you do something in another space, which pushes you towards the next space.
There is so much good thinkiness in this game, and definitely because there are so many things that you can do or need to do to increase your dice, to observe, to get your compasses, to use your compasses, all of these different things, there is definitely a thread that you try and maintain. And before you go, be like, okay, I need 3 compasses in order to do that. So I need to make sure that I get my 3 compasses first. And it is really fun to kind of keep my brain engaged and energetic between turns because it is thinky. I would say that some of the turns sometimes take a little bit longer just because you're thinking about through all of these different things. And I felt pretty engaged and actively thinking through the whole time.
I appreciate that because there's not a ton, the board actions are set, and it's the tiles underneath them that are changeable depending where they are. You don't have 10 million options, but those options are in depth in terms of the ability to do multiple things with them. And I appreciate that things like the compasses aren't a throwaway action. You're not just getting something to be like, oh, here's a pity prize. I think I got in that game maybe like 24 compasses based off of who my person was. And I was trying to use them to move my inquisitors down the line in these big batches, because you don't want to score, like you don't want to move one inquisitor and you have like 6 of them and you get negative 20 points or something like that. You want to move them in these big batches to get to the other side, at least with the number I had. And so I liked this also variable gameplay of you didn't always need to observe things. There were other ways to gain points or cards or scoring. And I think scoring also brought me a lot of joy, because I appreciate these games that say, if you're going to invest in something on this track, I'll give you a multiplier for it, but you have to choose. So you can't score a multiplier on everything. So you can score on things like the number of cards you have, number of comets, number of inquisitors, but getting to the top of all of those tracks is probably very, very, very hard to do. And so I like that ability to do multiple things, but not be so overwhelmed by the number of choices. I find the game very approachable. It's like a really good, solid, like light to midweight game.
Yeah, in this game, it's funny because I didn't expect it to be as interactive as it ended up being. In that there were certainly times where I made choices in my actions based on what I thought other people were doing. There was, say, a card out in the center with a major discovery that I really wanted, and I made sure that I could plan ahead and get the discovery dice I needed to actually discover that celestial object. And I was finding myself looking around at other players, seeing what colored dice that they had, so that I knew that they wouldn't obstruct what I was planning to do. And so there was that interaction with the main board, and trying to judge what other people are going to do and try to discover.
There's also a little bit with the universities. For example, keeping an eye on who's going to get to the 5 comets first, because you'll get, I think it's 7 victory points if you're the first one there, if that's one of the options at the top, or 3 if you are after the first person. And so I would kind of look up and see, okay, who's where? Maybe I'm going to make my move now and spend my quadrants to get my comets out and put my piece there. And I did a little bit of what you were explaining with kind of looking up to see what other colors people had to see if I could have the card that I wanted. But other than that, I felt like there wasn't as much interaction as I thought there maybe would be.
I should have looked up to figure out how Gillian could be getting those like 17-point cards, because I think my top card was maybe 9 in all of the games that we played. I did not get my dice up high enough to be able to get those cards.
I like that in this game, if you so there's a max number that you can have 4 dice on your main player board. And when you go to a spot, say you have 3 yellow dice, and you go to a spot that lets you increase the yellow dice, you actually get to increase it on all your yellow dice. And so it kind of brings you this incentive of, okay, well, if I have 3 yellow dice, I want to get them all to 3 or 4. So I'm going to prioritize doing this thing. I didn't have any patience for that in our last game, but I liked that ability to think about, okay, what dice combinations do I want? Because I don't love increasing 1 dice, 1 number. That feels like a waste. I want to increase 2 or 3 dice, and ideally multiple times to get something.
Yeah, and I always found myself gravitating towards the discoveries that didn't bring the Inquisitors down my neck. Because in the 3 games that I played, I struggled to balance the Inquisitors. I remember distinctly the last game that I played, I was like, I'm going to go heavy Inquisitors and just try to win that way because I've seen other people do it. That did not work out well for me. And so I don't know what it is. I really struggle with Inquisition.
It is a huge gamble because you score when you move them, but you also get negative points when you move them, or you increase your victory points when you move them. And most of the time we're negative in them. And at the end of the game, you go on where they are, location on a track. And twice that's changed who the winner is with this, because you get a negative certain amount of points. And in some cases, it's like negative 10 points for the Inquisitors.
I feel so called out, Reed, because of that.
I know. I did win by you losing.
Yeah, well, I also had the asymmetric human who my Inquisitors were worth even more negative points. But the trade-off was you got more bonuses and positives from them. So to be fair, like ultimately I scored way more points on the bonuses than I did on the negatives, but it gave me a false sense of I'm winning. And then I was like, I'm losing.
That's the same person I played in my last game, but I never got the sense that I was winning. So
He says as he probably won the game.
no, I did not.
I mean, it's terrifying to have a multiplier for Inquisitors. And Angela, how many Inquisitors did you have?
Like 9.
It was so many, and I was like, "Oh no, this is not good."
And they were worth 3 points each at the end because I went up that track. And it did see at the end you were like, oh, this faction feels OP. Well, there is a level of if that's a track you can go up as Inquisitors, and you have a faction that plays well with Inquisitors, and you don't totally like screw yourself over, and you get them down a little bit more, then it can feel a little wonky. And so depending on how the things shake out of who you are and what are the things that might feel that way. And we handed out 2 of each scientist to everybody, and you got to pick which one brought you joy, which is usually, I don't understand how this one works, so I'll play this one.
I was Isaac Newton on this last play, and I used his special tiles for the rondelle, but I didn't do any of the faction board actions where you get to opt into putting your comet somewhere on that player board, and it gives you individualized, like a special power. And I did not do that.
Yeah, I like that feature. So in the comets that Reed was mentioning earlier, if you place a comet, you get a 1 discount up, on a dice. Then once you use it, it flips over to a 2. Then once you use that discount, then you can kind of cash it in for a bonus. Or like on our player boards, instead of cashing it in for a main player board bonus, you can cash it on your personal player board. That was really fun because I did that twice, and I was able to get a free upgrade for 1 and then move 4 Inquisitors. And I was like, this is great. But there were times where I wanted to activate that bonus as soon as I put the comet out, but it forced me to observe something in the night sky twice in order to even get it. So I was like, I gotta observe. So it pays off trying to do a little bit of everything.
I find the flow of the game interesting because you can only have 4 dice on your board at any point. And as the higher level cards are coming out on the board, they cost more. And so you kind of build up your dice and then spend them down. And if you're like me, you spend all of them, so you have none left, and then you're kind of like starting from scratch again and having to build it back up. And I do appreciate that the comets flipping from 1 to 2 to help you reduce the dice value exists, because I think it kind of helps with that, like, oh, well, now I'm starting over again. But yeah, it's just an interesting flow. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, now I don't have anything.
I tried to maintain my dice flow. As soon as I used all of them, I tried to build them back up because I saw that you all were getting more and more cards, and I did not observe. What are the smaller ones? The comets?
Yeah, constellations.
The constellations. I did not do very many of those. And there were a lot of times where the board was completely full and I couldn't observe any because you all had your markers out on so many of them. That was annoying.
Which is interesting because I came to a point where I maybe had 4 or 5, maybe 4 turns at the end where I had no dice. But that didn't necessarily matter because I didn't want to observe anything anymore. I was trying to move my Inquisitors by gaining those compasses or by going up the tracks to make sure I was at the top. And so I didn't actually need dice. Now, this was not a winning strategy, as I did lose to Reed. But I thought it was I was like, I think I'm done getting dice. And so I didn't focus on any of the dice getting actions. And, I didn't have wasted turns, I felt like. So that was weird, but kind of cool.
I am going to start with saying I don't know exactly where I'm going, but follow me, okay? most games are a bunch of mechanics that if you play a lot of board games, like single mechanics feel familiar. And I've been kind of thinking about this game compared to Wondrous Creatures. Like Wondrous Creatures has a bunch of good mechanics all brought together, and it's a game that just like did not hit for me. And I think about this game, which I think is maybe a similar complexity level. I could be totally wrong. I was looking at Reed. Sometimes she just knows those numbers from BGG. But there's this game, like, I don't feel like there's a mechanic that feels particularly special, but it does everything better, or well, I don't know. But this game, like, definitely caught my attention and kept it, and I enjoyed it, and I want to go back to it. And Wondrous Creatures just like fell flat for me, and I don't know why this game kind of held my attention or interest.
Because it doesn't have animals.
I was actually going to say that as well.
Okay, but also I talked about how much I love Creature Caravan.
I mean, that's more about the caravan than animals, Becky. Wondrous Creatures is literally about the creatures.
They're also almost exactly the same weight. Galileo Galilei is 3.03 and Wondrous Creatures is 3.05.
Which is funny because I feel the same way, Becky. Like this one caught me a little bit more. I feel like it's a really solid game. It's weird to think that it's also the designer who made SETI because, yeah, right? Like they're space themed, but they feel very different. This is a game I would play with our other game group. I think the rules teach is good. Like it's got some meat to its bones, but it's not overly complex. And that's not to say that Wondrous Creatures would have felt different, but this just had a smoother gameplay. Maybe the actions were a little more interesting. That could say more about big deck games, but I know we're having a moment with midweight games. This I felt was a solid, like I would play this with other people, and it didn't take too long for us to refresh ourselves on the rules. And again, I think it's because it's not a million choices and you're not searching out tags. You're just kind of like, here we go. And the playtime, we played it at 3 and 4, and you guys played it at 2. I liked the playtime at 3 and at 4.
I think that this game for a midweight game is very thinky, and I love that. It feels like you're engaged and creating different strategies. It's not just a run to get points and everybody's doing the same exact thing. There are multiple paths to victory or not victory. And I think that this is like, as a midweight game goes for me, this is like top tier. I was not bored. I didn't think it overstayed its welcome. Although I was the one that opted not to play it a second time, maybe more than once in a row. I think maybe that's because my brain felt really engaged for the whole time that we were playing. And I was like, it's a lot.
I like that your then answer after we were done playing was, let's play Brass Birmingham.
Yes.
I was like,
No, I mean, I get it though.
But that's like a homey
Yeah.
game. We're just like, oh, this is a comfort game.
She just likes getting beaten by Angela.
Ugh.
That was rough, actually.
everyone does.
Yeah. Can we boo now? I don't know.
Yeah,
We got to fill this.
Okay. Speaking of booing, my only minor complaint with this game is that you have 3 colored dice, a red, a yellow,
Blue.
and a blue, and they make colors like green and purple
Orange.
and orange. And it is sometimes so when you have you're observing a planet that requires 2 different colored dice. And it sometimes was a little hard for me. And this, again, I'm old, probably need some good glasses. It was a little hard for me to like squint and be like, is that a red? Is that what is the thing that I need? And so the colors, when you had those combinations, were a little bit hard for me to tell. And then I don't remember if it had any sort of visual aids, if you couldn't see standard colors or you had color vision issues.
It does. Very slight, though. It has a dot either on the bottom of the number, the right, or the left.
I definitely agree. I struggled, especially the cards Gillian and Becky have matte sleeve cards, and just in I don't know if it was the matte or what the viewpoint is. It was definitely hard for me to tell the difference between, and then also really frustrating when I kept wanting to be like, oh, I have 9 yellow. Can I use that? No, you absolutely have to play 2 different colors in order to be able to do that. I don't like that.
It doesn't say 1 dice. It says you have to have 2 read at least.
2 colors.
Yes.
It's really frustrating because sometimes you don't have
Then
that
it would
second
just
color.
be a yellow.
I wish that.
A
Well, I guess
single
that's
color
that's
does
at
not
the bottom.
make 2 colors. A single color only makes the single
understand
color.
what you're saying.
Think of the science and
Science.
the different colors of light rays, and Gillian is going to come in with the actual science, right?
Science guy.
Were those dice light rays, Becky?
Yeah, you just throw dice at the night sky and you'll see something different.
Yeah, Reed.
I know what Reed and I are doing tonight.
It's a good thing you've got a lot of dice, Becky.
So I guess the question then is like, who would you play this game with? Who would you suggest it to?
I think the theme is super interesting and very approachable. I think it's very clear what you're trying to do in the game because the theme is so strong. And I think that this is a solid midway game. So I would teach this game. I would play it with a lot of people who are maybe interested in gaming and wanted a step up from entry level.
Yeah, I agree. That's who I would play this with. I wouldn't bring it out for somebody who doesn't play strategy board games. I think that might be a little over their head. But if you've dipped your toes into other arenas of strategy board games, worker placement, moving around a 2.5 to a 3 game before, this is the game I want to roll out to you. I think that there might be some AP on players who've obviously never played it before, but none of us super struggled with AP, and I think the time length will help people pay attention and focus because it just doesn't overstay its welcome.
If you like midway games and you're a space nerd, you should buy this game.
And throw dice into the sun
No, the night sky.
on the flat earth that we live on.
No!
Wait, what? Thank you for listening to Board Game Homies. If you also live on this flat earth of ours, drop us a line on Instagram, Blue Sky, or our Board Game Geek account. Bye-bye.
It's not a flat earth.
We are not flat earthers on this podcast.
Wow.
Maybe one of the 4 of us
No.
is a flat earther, and that's not me or Becky.
Just the dog.
Wait, did the dog take my spot?
If you'd like to apply to Board Game Homies to replace Reed's flat earthingness,
Wait, no, I thought you were the flat earther.
never.
We like science. Do we? Question mark.
Auga!
Oh, you guys are the best.
That was great.